If you're seated on the right-hand side, please watch your hands, arms, feet, and legs. Those doors are going to be sliding shut. Asante Sana Warden, Jumbo friends, my name is Maggie. I'm going to be your safari guide out here on the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. Couple safety reminders before we get started. Please keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the truck at all times. And please do remain fully seated during the entirety of our safari. This is a picture safari. You're welcome to take as many photographs as you would like. However, I do recommend hanging on tightly to any of your personal belongings. This is a real truck. I really am driving it. There's some real potholes out there, and I really did grow up in Pennsylvania, so I am very familiar with potholes. If anything falls out of the truck, I am unable to stop and retrieve it, and I cannot guarantee its condition if it is returned to you. We're going to let this truck go ahead of us, and then we're going to wait on some final clearance before we head into the reserve. But if you look up above your heads, you can see that animal spotting guide. I can't guarantee we'll see every animal up on that guide, but it might help you pick out a few. Now, once we do get that final clearance, we're going to be starting in the Little Ituri Forest. Animals in the forest rely on camouflage to protect themselves, but if we're lucky, we'll be able to spot a few. Are you taking a friend? We're getting that final clearance now. On the right, you can see the very stripy legs of an okapi. Those stripy legs might make you think that the okapi is related to the zebra. However, it is the only living relative of the giraffe. That's going to be most evident in its skull shape and its prehensile tongue. Prehensile means finger-like. Like many animals in the forest, okapis are incredibly shy and reclusive. They weren't discovered by Western scientists until 1901. Up ahead on the right, there's a bongo, and there's some greater kudus in the bushes here. These are two of the types of antelopes that live in the forest, and they share some characteristics such as those thin white stripes on their backs. Those stripes mimic sunbeams, which helps them blend in with the brush of the forest. They also both have gestational periods of around 9 months, which is the same as a human pregnancy. left the Little Aturi Forest and entered the Safi River Valley. Here in the Safi River Valley, we can find some semi-aquatic animals. Semi-aquatic does mean that these animals are comfortable living both on land and in water. Over on the right-hand side is a pod of pink-backed pelicans. Pink-backed pelicans are colonial nesters. They'll nest in groups anywhere from 20 to 500 birds. They get their name from those pink feathers under their wings and on their backs. And during their mating season, that pink color will grow darker and spread onto their face and beaks. Here's a group of Nile hippopotamus on the left-hand side. Hippopotamus is a Latin word that means river horse because while hippos can swim, they do prefer to walk or run along the bottom of the river. Hippos are incredibly dense animals. Being made mostly of muscle makes it very difficult for them to float. They can hold their breath for several minutes, and their eyes, ears, and nostrils have sealing mechanisms. Those are going to be the last things to enter the water as well as the first things to exit. A group of hippos is called a float and will consist mainly of female hippos and their calves. If you keep looking into the river, you might be able to see one of the big predators, the Nile crocodile. Nile crocodiles can be 16 to 20 feet long. That is about as long as a giraffe is tall. They regulate their body temperature by opening their mouths very similarly to how a dog will pant. They can travel over land, but they do prefer to stay in the river as that's going to help to conserve their energy. We're going to start heading out of the Safi River Valley now and into some more familiar territory, the savanna. The savanna is going to look a lot different from the forest and the river. It's going to be a lot more open. Animals in the savanna rely on speed, herding, and agility to protect themselves. On the right is one of the most important pieces of foliage in the savanna, the baobab tree. The baobab tree is known as the tree of life because it can store thousands of gallons of water in its bark. So when the savanna dries out, animals will chew on the bark of the baobab tree to release that water. As we head into the savanna, you might catch a glimpse of some familiar faces. The savanna is home to animals such as zebras, giraffes, elephants, and rhinos. There's a herd of wildebeest on the right-hand side. Wildebeest are the second most densely populated mammal here on Earth after us humans. They migrate 500 to 1,000 miles each year in groups of up to 1.5 million. There's a predator's den over on the left-hand side, and I just saw a predator run behind that den. Hopefully it comes back out, but it was an African painted dog. African painted dogs get their name from their coat pattern, which looks a lot like paint splatters. They may look like hyenas, but they're actually part of the canid family, which makes their closest relatives wolves and domesticated dogs. Back by the trees on the left-hand side, there is a group of sable antelopes. Sable antelopes are incredibly defensive animals. When faced with predators, they will often choose to stand their ground. There's also an eland up here on the left. Elands are one of the larger types of antelopes that live out in the savanna. Both males and females have horns, and when they walk, the tendons in their knees move, making a clicking sound to mark their territory. There's a herd of Ankole cattle over on the right. The Ankole cattle have very large horns that may look like they are very heavy. However, those horns have a honeycomb-like structure on the inside, which makes them very lightweight and also allows blood to flow through them, which helps to regulate the cattle's body temperature. The Ankole cattle are part of the bovine family. They're my favorite animal out on the reserve, and they are the only domesticated animal on the savanna. They were domesticated by the Watusi tribe, and they are also known as Watusi cattle. There's a Maasai giraffe on the right-hand side, and we know that that is a Maasai giraffe because its spots are very jagged and non-uniform. Giraffes are the tallest land animal. They can be 16 to 20 feet tall, and a group of giraffes is called a tower. There's a baby up here on the right. Giraffes have a gestational period of around 15 months, and at birth, a baby giraffe will be about 5 to 6 feet tall. That's around the height of an average adult human. There's a group of springboks over here on the left-hand side. Springboks are one of the smaller types of antelopes that live out in the savanna. They get their name from an action they do when they are excited or startled, where they will spring up into the air. When they do this action multiple times, it is called cronking. There's another herd of wildebeest around us. Wildebeest are known by a secondary name, and that is gnu, spelled G-N-U, because of a sound that they make. We already met the giraffe's only living relative, the okapi, back in the forest. And just like the okapi, giraffes have a prehensile tongue. They'll use their tongue to grab leaves off of trees, and that tongue can be up to 18 inches long. That's about the length of an adult forearm from fingertip to elbow. There are some fallen trees around us, which could be a sign that we're headed into some elephant country. Elephants will knock down trees to get access to the foliage at the tops of the trees. They act a bit like the bulldozer of the savanna, and they play a vital role in maintaining the savanna as a grassland by limiting the amount of trees that have the ability to grow here. Seen any elephants quite yet, and unfortunately elephants along with gorillas are heavily threatened by habitat loss due to the mining of a mineral called coltan. Coltan is a shiny mineral that's used in the production of small electronic devices. However, coltan is reusable and it does not expire, so be sure to recycle your small electronic devices. That coltan will be reused. We can limit the amount of coltan that is mined, thus limiting our impact on elephant and gorilla habitation. There are some more signs of elephant activity up here in these red clay pits. There are some footprints and some tusk marks. Elephants will dig their tusks into the red clay and eat it. It is very nutritious and full of vitamins. There are more baobab trees up ahead. The baobab tree is also known as the upside down tree because it looks a bit like there are roots growing from the top of it. It's going to remain leafless for most of the year. Elephants are one of the many types of animals that will benefit from the baobab tree. And they'll also help other animals benefit from the baobab tree. They'll dig their tusks into the tree trunk to release the water that the tree stores. Up here on the left, there is a group of greater flamingos. Greater flamingos are called greater flamingos, not because they are better than any other type of flamingo, but because they are physically larger. Flamingos are hatched gray, and they gain their pink color from a substance called beta-carotene in their diet. Beta-carotene is found in things like brine shrimp. Greater flamingos are the lightest shade of pink of any type of flamingo, so if you go visit the lesser flamingos at the front of the park, they're going to be significantly smaller, but also a significantly darker shade of pink. There is a very large mud wallow on the left-hand side. That could be a sign that there have been some rhinos in the area. Rhinos will roll around in that mud wallow to cool off, as well as to coat their skin in mud to protect it from the sun. That mud acts a bit like a sunscreen. If you look up to the left-hand side, you might be able to spot a cheetah. Cheetahs are the fastest land animal. They can run up to 60 miles per hour. However, they don't have the greatest stamina. They can only run that high speed for very short periods of time. Despite being physically large, cheetahs are not considered capital B big cats because they cannot roar. Instead, they will meow, purr, or chirp. Cheetahs are also one of the only types of cats that will hunt during the day. This is because they have very poor night vision. They're sleeping in that sun patch down in the bottom left corner. Up here on the left is a rock formation called a kopie. Kopies are where some big predators like to live because they provide a great vantage point of the savanna while also providing some shade and shelter. There's a lion sleeping up on that grass patch.
Oh, she's so sleepy.
You're not always guaranteed to see anything up on the kopie rocks as they do absorb sunlight. So they can get very, very warm on very sunny days. That lion we saw was a female, and we know that because she does not have a mane. Only the male has a mane. That mane is used for protection. The male lion is in charge of protecting the pride, while the females do most of the hunting. Unlike the cheetah, lions are big cats. They can roar, and over a flat savanna, that roar can be heard from up to 5 miles away. If you look in the ground on the left-hand side, there are some very large burrows, and if you look just above those burrows, you can see the warthogs that made those burrows. Warthogs are one of the largest burrowing animals on Earth. They're very closely related to the domesticated pig, and they can run up to 35 miles per hour. There are some white rhinos up here. White rhinos get their name from a mistranslation of an Afrikaans word, weit, which means wide, because they have a very wide mouth. Because of that wide mouth, their diet will consist mainly of grass and hay. They are grazers. There's some ostriches back there as well. White rhinos are very social animals, and they live in groups. A group of rhinos is called a crash, and will consist of about 10 to 15 rhinos. Ostriches are large, flightless birds. However, they can run up to 40 miles per hour, which does make them the fastest thing on two legs. Despite being flightless, ostriches do have wings. Those wings are used for balance as well as change of direction. If you look on the ground on the right-hand side, there was a nest of ostrich eggs. Ostriches lay the largest of any bird eggs. Those eggs can weigh up to 3 pounds. They're able to withhold the weight of an adult human, and one ostrich egg is equivalent to about 2 dozen chicken eggs. We've made our way out of the savannah now and into the Magadi Glen, which is where the warden's post is, and it does look like the warden's goats are out. These are Nigerian dwarf goats, and despite their small size, they are fully grown. Goats are very playful and social animals, and they enjoy climbing. They have a symbiotic relationship with humans, which means it is mutually beneficial. Goats provide us with sweet and nutritious milk, and farmers provide goats with homes and health care.